It's here, Caddy Daddy's interactive video buying experience. When you see the product and a label, you can go to the label and click on it. That'll give you more information. Check it out. If you like what you see and you want to buy it, just click on the buy button. That takes you to the online store where you have more information, what customers purchased, related product. You can go back and click the X, and that will take you back to the interactive video. Enjoy the learning experience and the buying experience.
So we're over here at the table, and we've got something really cool to put together here. So we have our Caddy Daddy front disc brake kit. And this is one of the modifications we're doing to the 59 Cadillac. Because we're going, and we offer these kits for all years of Cadillacs, and they also do work across different GM cars too. So we like to show you how these guys go together. And what we have in front of us, these are our spindles. And what's interesting is the spindles on this car are symmetrical. Left and right look the same.
That's right. They used to have a left and a right. And you can see on both of these how where the upper ball joint mounts comes off to the left, up and back to the right. Same way over here. They used to have one where it would have come the other way. So that's something to keep in mind, and the kit will work with both styles. I believe it was right around 59 they changed.
I think so. It was right around that.
Because depending on what part catalog you look in, you'll see different illustrations and different part numbers, and you'll finally see where the part number superseded.
The reason why we bring that up is, you need to look at that, acknowledge it.
Yes.
We're in a situation where this was already a part.
That's right.
So then we're acknowledging, and we've got a pile of different parts.
Yes.
So we want to make sure we have the right stuff, and we show you the right things.
Yeah.
Also, too, with the disc brake kit, there are differences in the way it's installed left versus right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start, and the orientation of the way that you're looking at us right now would be as if you're riding in the car.
That's correct.
So Josh is driving, and I'm in the passenger seat right now.
The brackets are the same. Go ahead and pick that one up, Bob. But they are flipped over depending on what side of the car you're using them on.
And what you'll see is it actually is stamped in there, or imprinted, and it says made in the USA.
57 to 60 CAD.
Yeah, and that's a specific one. And so the brackets, if you're doing a later Cadillac, you're going to have a little different shape.
A little bit different shape, but the concept is the same.
Exactly.
It's just a different size for a different chassis.
Yeah.
And so you have one lower mounting hole, and there's two upper mounting holes. And if you see here on the driver's side, I'm just holding this above, that if you line up the lower bolt hole with the lower hole in the spindle, you get the upper one lined up, you use the outboard hole. Now if Bob takes his
passenger side, you want to use the same hole on the bottom
because there's only one.
But here's the difference. You kick this guy in, and you use the inboard hole right here.
And as you can see, the brackets are approximately, just holding them here, they're about the same angle, which is, and the large cutout there is where the caliper itself actually mounts, towards the back of the car, slightly above the axis of the tie rod.
You're going to have your custom bracket, you're going to have your hardware, and then you have two really important things, and that are
two spacers.
Two spacers.
And they are two different thicknesses. One's 250 thousandths for the upper, and 320 thousandths for the lower.
For the lower.
So the thicker one goes on the bottom bolt that goes through the spindle and the steering arm.
And also in the kit is included, you have the drilled and slotted rotors, you have your seals, you have your bearings. You'll notice that we had pre-packed the bearings here. And you have your nut, your washer.
Special washer that's rebated. We're going to basically have the caliper mounted to the spindle with the rotor mounted, so that when we go to, so that this whole spindle assembly, when it gets mounted onto the car, between the two ball joints, it's all ready to go. The brakes are mounted, the wheel bearings are in, they're packed, everything's set and ready to roll.
We're going to slide it in, bolt it on there, and that's one closer step to us getting this guy rolling.
Yep. So here we go. We're going to assemble the driver's side. And so the first step will be to take the short bolt, the lock washer, go through.
And that's one thing to reiterate. It's the short bolt and the shorter 250 thousandths spacer.
Yep. And then
let's go ahead and get this guy.
Get that one in.
And there's just a little bit of difference, but what you want to do is check yourself, get these guys in there, and look and see. Look at the threads. It's going to be really close there.
And we got this. We previously started the bolt and the lock nut, which are all included in the kit. Everything that you need's in the kit.
So now, like we talked about, we're going to take the bracket, and on this one, the orientation is going to be the made in the USA, indication of the year, 57 Cadillac. It's probably hard to see on the film.
It's a little bit to get it all to line up and to get the threads to start.
Always just get them started first. Then you just tighten those guys up. Okay, now we're over to the passenger side, and we're going to show you a few little differences on here. So once again, we're going to put get our bolt started on there. Like I said, we've already. If I don't drop that. Yeah. So now we get that through there. Just quite one up here. Now, once again, I'm going to reiterate that the biggest difference is you want to use the same bottom hole towards the bottom of the spindle, but we're going to use the inboard hole, of the upper hole right there. So let's go ahead and get that. If you kind of support that for me, I'll get that started.
Okay. Don't forget your spacer.
Oh yeah, spacer is very important. And just to say it again, inner hole on the passenger side, outer hole on the driver's side.
Yep.
This is a good addition to your classic Cadillac. I tell you, it just makes a world of difference, especially if this is a vehicle that you're driving and enjoying. It is so worth upgrading here. And one thing I also want to say is you can run the original steel wheels with this disc brake.
That's correct, yeah. There's a lot of rumors out there to the contrary that the stock wheels won't fit, and so we took time to verify, and it's just fine.
Now we're going to move on to the rotors. We've got them laid out here. They're drilled. They are milled on here. These come with the kit, so let's go ahead and take a look right now. This is the outside of the rotor. Let's go ahead and get this punch, and we're going to go ahead and go around. There's a race in
There's
here.
a race that's pre-installed on the rotor. I just like to go around and check to make sure it is seated all the way.
And just a little tap-a-tap.
A little gentle.
So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of grease. And we'll put it around the race. And if you're not familiar with a race is the seal or the surface that the bearing sits on.
That the bearing rolls on. It's replaceable. Mm-hmm. So as it wears, you can knock it out and replace it when you replace the bearing. Flip it over.
Mm-hmm. And we have a larger diameter one on the other side. We're going to go ahead and do a little tappa-tappa. Do his tap dance.
Since you got the glove on, Bob, drop one of the large bearings in that we already packed.
So we already packed those, and we do that by putting grease in your hand, and then you shove it and roll it.
With a motion, I'm using the seal as an example, but the larger diameter side of the bearing, have a little pile of grease in your hand, and you just kind of rake it in until it comes out the other side.
And what it does is that gets all the grease in the little rollers of the bearing. And so you can go ahead and take it, larger diameter. Once again, this is all included in the kit. Not the grease, you have to get your own grease.
Use whatever grease you prefer. And now we've got the wheel seal.
We want to put the larger diameter goes on the outside.
So you'll set it in just like that. And then
we take super hammer. You don't want to deform it. You just want to slowly let it go around, and eventually you'll find. And
you can hear that it's ringing.
It's another situation we find where the sound you'll be able to recognize it. So. This is, once again, the driver's side. Take that bad boy.
Set it on the spindle.
And we've already greased the race. And we're going to slide it right over the nose of that spindle, over the threaded area. And you're going to feel it's a nice tight fit. It's not going to flop over there. So we get down in there.
And we have our special spacer or washer that comes in the kit, and you can see this side here is counterbore or rebated, and that goes towards the bearing. The flat side faces out. We drop it on just like that, and we have our nut, our universal wrench here.
Turn it,
then try to find the cotter pin hole, which I neglected to find earlier, and right about there.
Finally, we've got our dust cap, and that'll go on there. Little quick taps. You know, Josh, one thing I want to say about this kit, not only does it really look good, you're putting on here, a big advantage is that you can still use the stock wheels, because one of the whole goals that we're going for is having a stock looking car that's got the snazzy little new stuff that we do in there.
Yeah.
So
modifications you kind of have to look for. They're there, but they're not obvious.
Yeah, because you know what we're going to do? I know we're going to show this car. We're going to go drive this thing around.
Yeah.
So
we want a nice driver that's all look stock.
So we're actually going to use a stock style steel wheel.
That's correct.
And that way we can use our really neat hubcaps that are actually getting restored right now. And what we're going to do, so we got this, we're going to go ahead and repeat it for the passenger side. It's the same process, but go ahead and take a look. Next step in installing the disc brake kit, we're going to put the calipers on. So we're going to take one side right here, and the calipers, first thing you want to look at is the orientation of the bleeder screw. So that's with the hydraulic system in there, so when you bleed the brakes and when you get it all set up and we have it all plumbed, you want to make sure that is going to the sky. We're going to slide this bad boy on.
A little effort to get them initially lined up.
You'll see that they'll have clearance. There'll be a like gap in the bracket.
So these are going to be the bolts that you take out when you service the brakes to replace the pads.
Crank that guy down. Yet another thing we'll check with that. And there you go. We've got a set of disc brakes for this. So we'll get these spindles, we get our airbags, and like you've previously seen, how we assembled the bushings, the upper and lower
for the control
arms.
Yep.
So we're gonna get these guys in there, get them all bolted up, and we'll have a front suspension with brakes. Plumb these guys. Those are pretty.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Hey Bob, you got the brackets?
I got them. You got the spacers?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, let's put this on here.
Sounds good.
So what this is here is this is the disc brake kit that goes on the factory rear end. And if you remember on an earlier episode, we went ahead and added this part of the disc brake kit, which replaces the backing plate of the original drum brake. That provides a spacer, and it also gives us a surface to mount our brackets and our spacers.
With our spacers.
On the spacers, you're going to see where there's a machined side of there. What that is because these spacers actually work on several different models of Cadillac rear ends. So this particular one right here, where you see that machined edge, it won't have any interference with this 59 style rear end. So you've got your two brackets and they're like. So you put them on there, you've got your hardware, and it's going to go ahead and go on like so. And what we're going to use, what I like to do for this kit here, is have that machined end, have it going to the outside of the axle flange.
And the purpose of that machine spot in the other kits is to provide clearance around the axle flange where this mounting plate is, where the axle flange is larger diameter.
Exactly. When you get into the later models, they did increase that diameter there.
What we're going to do is just going to snug these up, but not tighten them all the way, because we need to check the alignment with the caliper mounted. So these will be tightened in just enough where we can still move the bracket, but that it's not flopping around.
It's staging. It's everything on there before you snug everything up. That'll give you the ability to check alignment, adjustment, and especially when you're dealing with an older vehicle. This also gives you a time where you can check and see and make sure nothing's bent, nothing's out of, that's not true.
That's correct.
There. It gives you a chance to take a brand new piece that we know is square, straight, and flat, and check it against your vintage rear end.
And these are locking nuts. That's why they're a little bit difficult to tighten up, is they are metal locking nuts, and they are meant to be used one time only. So if you have to disassemble things, for whatever reason, if you have some type of a problem, then these nuts should be replaced.
what we're going to do is on this rear caliper right here, you're going to see this is the way it comes out of the box. And it also has the provision for the emergency brake. So that side goes towards the center of the automobile.
And the other thing to look at is that the bleeder screw will be up. And since we have the chassis inverted, the bleeder screw will point down. But that's a quick and easy way to know that you've gotten the right caliper for the right side of the car. Or I should say correct caliper. For
Correct
the correct
caliper
side.
for the correct side of the vehicle. And once again, I know you mentioned it, but I just reiterate that as we do this, the frame is upside down. So just stand on your head. What this does is now we're rigidly with the three pieces of the bracket which is added on there. We've got our main, and then we have our upper and our lower.
And we have everything lined up and indexed so that the caliper will go on and off very easily.
So we're going to go ahead and loosen those two main bolts that hold the caliper. Now we get to add our rotor. Another thing you want to do in the kit is you'll see that these rotors are machined. They're drilled and machined. So there is a left and there is a right. So you just want to have the direction as in forward motion of the rotor coming down towards the rotation of the vehicle. So we can go ahead and slide that guy on there. We're going to go back because we already tested it.
Start a couple of lug nuts here just to hold that in place. Install a couple more lug nuts to make sure the rotor is held tightly to the axle flange. That's just so we can spin it around, test it, make sure there's no dragging. And I am putting the lug nuts on backwards so that they can bottom out more easily.
And when he says by backwards, you'll see on the lug nuts they do have a machined taper to them. That's what goes into the wheel and helps retain it there.
And there's a chamfer in the on the rotor that if you put them in the correct orientation for this temporary aspect of the installation, they don't bottom out and they won't hold the rotor tightly.
And so this is a situation where you will visually look at it to see if it spins true, and also you're going to hear it. If it does not spin true, it's going to come in contact with the caliper. Now that could be an indication of not having tightened bolts, a bent axle, but fortunately...
or dirt or filth underneath on the axle flange that's not letting the rotor sit flush. And you'll hear a noise. It kind of would sound like that if something's dragging across the rotor.
Now, it's fortunately in this build right here. Perfect. Nothing.
Smooth as silk.
No sound is great sound.
That's right, Bob.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
Vine Village is a great organization that gives back to the community. Check it out. You'll see so as well. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Sanan Kirsten. We're here at the 2018 Vine Village Celebration, our major fundraiser here that helps fund programs that we run for people with developmental disabilities here in the greater Napa community. Vine Village was founded by my family and another family, each who had children with disabilities, in 1972. We depend on donations from all sorts of foundations and individuals and businesses throughout our community to help fund these programs, and this is our biggest fundraiser of the year.